Chapter 4. The Fraidy-Cat Cure. "Oh, don't turn off my light, Mother, please don't," Phoebe Jackstraw wailed. "You know I'm afraid of the dark." "Of course I'm going to turn off your light," said Mrs. Jackstraw. "You can't sleep restfully with a light shining in your eyes." "I can," Phoebe said, "and I can't sleep at all when it's dark, and I think the bureau is a gorilla, and the curtain is a witch, and the lamp is a goblin." "Now, Phoebe, that is pure nonsense," said her mother, snapping off the light. "Look, the bureau is just a bureau. The curtain is only a curtain being blown by the summer breeze, and the lamp, if it looks like anything at all, looks like a little lady wearing a hoop skirt." Phoebe sighed and said, "Well, don't shut the door then." "All right," said her mother. "I'll leave the hall door open, but I don't want you sneaking down and sitting on the stairs and listening." "I only do that because I'm afraid," said Phoebe. "Oh, Phoebe," said her mother, "how can you be afraid when you have 3 brothers sleeping in the next room?" "Boys," said Phoebe. "Boys are no help. All they do is tease. Last night Jeremy hid behind my door and jumped out at me, and I was so scared I spilled all my lilac bath powder. And old Chucky hides under my bed and pinches my legs, and Georgie climbs out on the roof and comes in my window and scares me." "Nobody would tease you if you weren't such a fraidy-cat," said Mrs. Jackstraw. "Now kiss me good night and go right to sleep." Phoebe kissed her mother, but she didn't go right to sleep. She lay in bed as stiff as an icicle and looked around the dark room with round, scared eyes. She had forgotten to shut the closet door, and she thought she could see a thin, bony hand with long, curved nails reaching out and feeling around. Was she imagining it? Oh no, there it was again! She pulled the covers over her head. It was very hot and stuffy under the covers, but at least the witch would have to kill her through the blankets. Then there was a noise, a raspy, scrapey noise over by the window. A robber was cutting the screen and was coming in the window, and her gold beads and her wristwatch were right in plain sight on the bureau. Suddenly, from outside the window came the most terrible noise, a cross between a moan of agony, a death wail, and a cry for help. With a shriek, Phoebe threw off the covers, tore out of her room, ran downstairs, and burst in on her mother and father, who were playing bridge with the Murphys. "Save me! Save me!" Phoebe yelled. "My room is full of robbers, and there's one being killed right outside my window." "You take her upstairs, Henderson," said Mrs. Jackstraw. "You're dummy." So Mr. Jackstraw took Phoebe's cold little hand, led her upstairs and into the robber's den. Turning on the bedside light, he said, "Now, Chickabiddy, show Daddy all the robbers and witches and killers." "First came this terrible bony hand with long claws," said Phoebe, pointing to the closet. Mr. Jackstraw strode over, opened the closet door wide, pushed the hangers from one side to the other, and said, "Nothing there at all. Are you sure you didn't see the arm of your bathrobe? It's white, and it's kind of caught on the shoestring bag here. See how it comes out the door?" "Oh, I guess that was it," said Phoebe, laughing weakly. "But what about the robber that cut my screen and that awful noise?" Going over and examining the screen, Mr. Jackstraw said, "The screen is just like new, but there is a branch of the rose bush here by the window. I imagine that a breeze could make it scrape against the screen and make a grating noise. Now, what was the other dreadful thing, Chickabiddy?" "The noise," Phoebe said. "Kind of a moan, a howl, a shriek, a scream, a growl, and a death wail." "That's quite a combination," said Mr. Jack Straw. "The owner should patent it. Now where did this unusual sound come from?" "Right outside my window," said Phoebe. "Oh, it was terrible, Daddy. It made my blood all cold and lumpy." "You mean," said Mr. Jack Straw, "all cold and lumpy like Sarah's oatmeal?" "Now, Daddy," said Phoebe, "you're making fun of me." "On the contrary," said her daddy, "I'm just attempting to establish the facts in the case. Remember, I'm a lawyer." "All right," said Phoebe. "Now that you have established the facts, what was the noise?" "I don't know," said her father, peering out the window. "I can't see anything unusual out here, except your bicycle, which should be in the garage. Perhaps it is afraid of the dark, too, and was crying for you to let it in." "Now, Daddy," said Phoebe, "you're just being silly. Bicycles don't have voices unless they have horns. The bony hand was my imagination, and I guess I imagined that there was a robber cutting the screen, but I didn't imagine that terrible noise. It was a kind of moan, howl, scream, and wail. It was just awful." "Well," said her father, "there is nothing visible from this window that could have produced such a noise. But if it will make you happy, I will go down and prowl around outside. Why don't you watch me from the window? I'll put a white flower in my buttonhole so you will be able to tell me from the crowd of killers and robbers that are always hanging around this house." So Phoebe knelt by the window and shivered and watched while her daddy, wearing a white camellia in his buttonhole, looked behind every bush and tree, walked up and down the street, and even searched inside the Murphys' car. "All right, baby," he called up to her, "hop into bed now." All the screamers, howlers, and wailers seemed to have gone home. So Phoebe got into bed and turned off her light and was just about asleep when woo, woo, ah-woo, ee-oo, came the terrible noise. Like a bullet, she shot out of bed, took the steps 2 at a time, leapt into her daddy's arms. "The noise, Daddy," she wailed. "The terrible noise. Listen." They listened, and sure enough, they could hear a strange noise that was sort of a cross between a wail, a moan, a howl, a growl, and a scream. Dumping Phoebe off his lap, Mr. Jack Straw strode over and opened the front door. Then he began to laugh and called, "Come here, everybody. Here is the culprit." They all ran to the door, and there, sitting in a pool of moonlight, was a red and white dog howling at the moon. "Oh, that is the Westkit's pointer," Mrs. Murphy said. "They have gone on a little trip, and they asked me to feed and water him. I guess he was lonely and followed us here. Come, Bobo, come, Bobo." The hunting dog turned, gave Mrs. Murphy a sorrowful look, tilted back his head, and let forth the most mournful and the most agonized and the most heart-rending wail anyone had ever heard. Then he walked solemnly over and lay down under the Murphys' car. "So that's why I couldn't find you before," Mr. Jack Straw said. "All right, old boy, lie under the car if you want to, but please don't sing any more. Phoebe can't stand your voice." "Whin, whoosh, whirr," said Bobo, his head on his paws. Giving Phoebe a hug, Mr. Jack Straw said, "Now that I've caught all your killers, robbers, and witches, do you think you could go to bed by yourself?" "Yes," said Phoebe, smiling an embarrassed little smile, "but I'm awfully hungry. Do you suppose I could have a peanut butter sandwich and a glass of milk?" "Certainly," said her mother, "but take it upstairs. Now scoot." So Phoebe scooted. After she had eaten her sandwich and her milk, and she fell asleep and didn't wake up until she heard Jeremy and Georgie and Chucky fighting over the catcher's mitt. At breakfast, Georgie said, "Say, Phoebe, what was all that bellerin' I heard in your room last night? I never heard so much noise. Screamin' and yellin' and bawlin'. What happened? Did you see your own shadow?" I didn't hear anything, said Jeremy. What was it, a bear? Chucky, who was only 3, said, Oh, bears don't come in houses. Bears live in the woods, don't they, Daddy? Phoebe said, There is nothing that upsets my stomach as much as having to listen to the childish prattle of my brothers. Would you excuse me if I didn't eat my oatmeal, Mother? No, I wouldn't, said her mother, especially as today is the day of Imogene Haversack's birthday party, and you'll probably stuff yourself on candy and ice cream. Oh, Imogene's party, said Phoebe, her eyes sparkling. I had forgotten all about it. May I wear my new pink? Okay, here's a new word. PQ? I don't know what that is. I'll have to look that one up. May I wear my new pink? I'm just going to call it a dress for now. Dress, Mother? I don't see why not, said her mother. Oh, Mumsy, can I wear my blue silk? Mocked Georgie. I do look so pretty in it, even if I am the biggest scaredy-cat in the whole United States of America. Georgie, eat your cereal and stop teasing, said Mrs. Jackstraw. More scrambled eggs, Henderson? No, thank you, Eloise, said Mr. Jackstraw, his eyes glued to the bad news in the morning paper. But I would like some coffee. It is there right beside you, said Mrs. Jackstraw. If you would only take your eyes off the paper for a minute, you would have seen it. I did see it, said Mr. Jackstraw, not taking his eyes off the paper as he groped for the sugar bowl. Georgie handed it to him, then watched with delight as his father put 4 teaspoons of sugar in Georgie's cocoa, stirred his own black coffee vigorously, then picked up the cream pitcher and took a sip. With a splutter, he put down his paper for a minute to see what was going on, and Mrs. Jackstraw seized this opportunity to say, Henderson, dear, I must have the car today. Sorry, said Mr. Jackstraw, but I must have it. I have to drive into Greenbrier to interview a witness. Oh, said Mrs. Jackstraw, well, then Phoebe can take the bus to Imogene's birthday party. The bus? Wailed Phoebe. Oh, Mother, I couldn't. I don't know how. What do you mean you don't know how? Said Georgie. You're not going to steer the bus. You're just going to ride on it. Oh, be quiet, Phoebe said. Mother, please don't make me take the bus to Imogene's. I won't know where to get off. Just tell the driver, dummy, said Jeremy. That's what I do when I go to Cub Scouts. I just say, let me off at Nickerson Street, driver. And he does. Oh, but that's different, said Phoebe. You go there every Wednesday. Anyway, Imogene lives way over in Blackberry Park. So what? Jeremy said. Mom will tell you what bus to take and where Imogene lives, and then you just tell the driver. I can't, said Phoebe. I can't possibly. What if the driver forgot me and I went clear to the end of the line? Get off at Imogene's on the way back, Jeremy said reasonably. Well, I'm not going, said Phoebe, getting up and throwing her napkin on her chair. I'm afraid to ride on the bus, and I don't care. She stamped out of the dining room. Putting down his paper, Mr. Jackstraw said, What's the trouble? Who's afraid of the bus? Where's Phoebe? Oh, that old Fraidy-Cat has gone up to her room to bawl, said Georgie. Gosh, Daddy, she's even afraid to ride on the bus, Jeremy said. And I've been going to my Cub Scouts on the bus for ages. I rided on the bus once, said Chucky. Sarah took me to market with her. Really, Henderson, said Mrs. Jackstraw, are you positive you have to have the car? Positive, said Mr. Jackstraw. But if there is something you must have, perhaps I can get it for you in Greenbrier. I should be back about 4 o'clock. I don't need anything, said Mrs. Jackstraw. It is just that I had counted on driving Phoebe to Imogene's birthday party. Let her take the bus, said Mr. Jackstraw, who hadn't heard one word of the argument. But that's the trouble, Daddy, said Jeremy. She's afraid to take the bus. Mr. Jackstraw took a sip of coffee, wiped his lips with his napkin, stood up and said, I'm sure you can handle everything, Eloise. Goodbye, boys. Say goodbye to Phoebe for me when she gets up." "But, Daddy, she's up," said Chucky. "Goodbye, son," said Mr. Jackstraw. Then the front door slammed and he was gone. Jeremy said, "Mom, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Can I have a dog?" "What kind of a dog?" asked Mrs. Jackstraw. "A kind of a big black dog that nobody wants," Jeremy said. "He's awful sweet, and he's a keen watchdog." "Where is the dog?" asked his mother. "Does someone have him for sale?" "Well," said Jeremy, "I just happened to have him right out in the kitchen. The people in the old Haggett house moved away and left him. Do you want to see him?" "Of course I do," said Mrs. Jackstraw. "Bring him in." So Jeremy went out in the kitchen and came in leading an enormous black dog, which was obviously part Great Dane. "This is Friendly," he said, pushing the dog at his mother. "Sarah and I named him Friendly 'cause he is. Ask him to shake hands, Mom." Mrs. Jackstraw said, "Shake hands, Friendly," and Friendly immediately handed her a huge black paw. She shook his paw and he smiled at her. She said, "He's a lovely dog, Jeremy. Are you sure the people left him?" "We're sure all right," said Sarah, coming in from the kitchen with hot coffee. "The Humane Society man stopped by yesterday and told me all about it. I suggested that we keep him for a while, and he was real glad to give him to us. Nobody seems to know what his name is, so me and Jeremy named him Friendly." Georgie said, "He's part mine too, isn't he, Jeremy?" "He's part all of ours," Jeremy said. "He's our family's dog, and I'm going to build him a doghouse." "That's a fine idea," said Mrs. Jackstraw. "Daddy will help you when he comes home." Just then Phoebe came into the dining room to tell her mother that she had definitely decided that she would rather stay home from Imogene's party than to take the bus. She got as far as, "Mother, I have definitely decided," when she saw Friendly. Giving a shriek, she jumped up on a chair and yelled, "Take him out of here! Take that monster out of here!" "That's our new dog, Phoebe dear," said Mrs. Jackstraw. "His name's Friendly. Shake hands with Phoebe, Friendly." Friendly walked solemnly over to Phoebe and held out his paw. She crouched back against the chair and squealed, "Take him away! He's dangerous! He'll bite me!" "Oh, gosh, what a dope," said Jeremy. "Come here, Friendly, old boy. Stay with me and don't go near that big Fraidy-Cat." "Mother!" Phoebe wailed. "Aren't you going to do anything? Are you going to let that vicious monster stay here?" "Of course I am," said her mother, "and you are being a very silly little girl. Now get down off that chair and go upstairs and tidy your room." "Get that dog out of here first!" shrieked Phoebe. "Oh, Mom," said Jeremy, "she's just awful. Come on, Friendly, old boy, let's go outside." When Friendly and the three little boys had gone outside and closed the door, Phoebe got down off the dining room chair, went upstairs, and locked herself in her room. She wouldn't come out for lunch. She wouldn't even come out for supper. All she did was snuffle and bawl and say, I'll never come out of my room as long as you have that dog." Mrs. Jackstraw talked to her. Mr. Jackstraw talked to her. Sarah talked to her. But it did no good. Finally, Mrs. Jackstraw called her friend, Mrs. Melancholy. She said, "Honestly, Bets, I'm at my wit's end. Phoebe is afraid of everything. She is afraid of mice, bugs, dogs, cats, buses, swings, the dark, the light, the water, the mountains, just everything. Was Shirley ever like that?" "Not Shirley, but Kathy," said Mrs. Melancholy. "Kathy was even afraid of dolls. She said they might come to life and hurt her. She was also afraid of her bed because she was afraid she might never wake up. But since I sent her to Mrs. Pigglewiggle, she has been just fine. Last week she won the diving medal at the YWCA. Why don't you call Mrs. Pigglewiggle?" "I will," said Mrs. Jackstraw, "right now. I don't know why I didn't think of her a long time ago. Thanks ever so much, Bets, and tell Kathy I'm awfully proud of her and would love to see her medal. Stay tuned for part 2.